Well, the SACP is today celebrating 103 years in existence out at the OR Tambo Hall in Khayelitsha, and its Secretary General Solly Mapaila had addressed the members earlier. We do have now SABC News reporter Vanessa Puna, who was following the events and joins us live now with the latest update. A very good afternoon to you, Vanessa. So take us through what happened or transpired at the 103rd SACP birthday celebrations.
Alicia, yes, good afternoon to you. And I dare say that the celebrations are not yet over, because I'm still standing in the OR Tambo Hall here in Khayelitsha, where the hall is still full. Nobody has left their seats, and the program is just about to conclude. Of course, we saw the SACP's huge cake to commemorate their 103rd commemoration. But also I'm joined now by the SACP General Secretary, Mr. Solly Mapaila. A short while ago, we heard from him on a range of issues affecting South Africa, of course reflecting on the outcome of the May elections, and also the SACP's stance on the government of national unity, but also talking about its push and a campaign for the implementation of the national health insurance. Now I'm joined now by Mr. Mapila. A very warm good afternoon to you. Let me start with the criticism as opposed to non-opposition to the government of national unity. What does that mean, and what does the reconfiguration of the Tripartite Alliance, what does this encompass?
Well, the main thing is that we had a choice not to work with the forces that have led us to the status quo of an economic crisis of the working people that we represent, and the forces that have created poverty in this country, the forces of colonialism, the forces of exploitation of our people, the forces that have hoarded the resources of our economy and deployed them outside the country and left some in speculative economy through the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, who are not willing to invest in any productive sector of our country. When these forces plan to remove us from political office, instead of rejoicing after they failed to defeat us, we went back to embrace them because they threatened us with the economy. This was a moment in which we could have freed ourselves from the clutches of capital in this country. Unfortunately, we failed to do this by making bad political choices on the government of national unity.
So when you talk about reconfiguring your alliance, I mean, we've seen your alliance partners here today, the COSATU, as well as the ANC. What exactly does that mean when you talk about reconfiguring? Spell it out for us.
Reconfiguration simply means that we change the way we work as the alliance. There's respect for each other's ideas, and we find time for constructive engagements and discussions on any other issue that we face. For instance, this question on the government of national unity, consultation was not substantive, but there was consultation. And we're unhappy about that, because the positions that we placed on the table could have given us a different outcome today. But instead of freeing ourselves, we renege back to the clutches of capital, who are now playing the tune through the expressions by the DA. In fact, when you listen to Mzile all the time, it is clear there's more than what we have engaged in the discussions with our allies, the ANC, when they briefed us about some of the negotiations, because we were not involved in the negotiations. We asked to be included in the negotiations. We sent names, people that were not invited to the meetings. We were supposed to make comments on the statement of intent. Our comments were not taken into account when they finally signed this statement of intent. So in other words, they just represent us without our mandate.
So you're not very happy with the ANC at this point in time, am I correct in saying that?
No, it's behavior. The ANC and its leadership are two separate things. So the behavior of the leadership of the ANC is unacceptable at the moment, in a sense that when the moment arises for them to side with the people, they decide to join hands with capital and want to justify it. And to the extent that there was some engagement with us, they want to include us in that particular process. No, we're not party to it. And we felt that this is a bad political choice. There could have been a different choice and a different outcome. South Africa will then be clear. Now we are going back to the crisis of the majority under capitalist economic system. When now this capitalist economic system had failed to remove us from political office, we should have taken this opportunity as the leading majority party to chart a new way forward for South Africa.
On reflecting on the outcome of the May election, you're talking about the representation, or it being indicative of the underrepresentation of the working class. What does this mean?
What it means is that the message of the working class was quite poor in the elections campaign. I mean, for instance, in the middle of the elections campaign, Minister Godongwana launches austerity measures against the workers, budget cuts, letters flying around forcing government departments to cut expenditure, social expenditure to the people, the support mechanism for the people in the period in which the capitalist economy, the cost of living was too high for ordinary people to afford anything. So you can see it's an elite pectin process. Capital, on the one hand, had rejected to come into the social compact system, and the government doesn't do anything to force them to come into the social compact, and they continue to extend their mandate or outsource their mandate to capital, which has failed over the years because capital has no obligation to the people. Its main task is to make profit and make more money. It has no responsibility to the well-being of the people, but the government is, and the liberation movement is, and this is the point of contention now in the alliance.
So where to from here for the SACP, charting the way forward for itself as a movement?
Well, we'll certainly, we come from an alliance secretariat meeting on Tuesday. We have raised some of the issues, including convening important meetings. Some of them were overdue meetings, including a political council, where we could have debated at length this current situation. The ANC pulled this thing together with the DA without us. We went into an alliance political council meeting where it was just information. And that's when we decided to get people to participate in the negotiating team who were not invited to the meetings. So you can see the deceitfulness in this regard. And it is that makes us doubt this outcome. And when you listen to Helen Zille when she speaks, you realize that actually there was a real reason why we were excluded from some of those negotiations.
Will you break away from the alliance?
That's a decision our structures will have to take. At the moment, we'll have to have deeper discussion because the alliance is not a wish, it's not my wish or the wish of any other leader in the movement. We're a dual membership organization. So when we talk about the breaking up of the alliance, we're talking about the weakening even of the forces of liberation in this country at a point where imperialism has launched a huge offensive against us using their stooges here at home, including big capital. Now, we go back to the same capital to hug them. The CEOs of these countries, some of the big business people, the Oppenheimers. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see how they put up this project, the Moonshot Pact, and how they funded it. The Marshall guy and everybody else. You see where their money was, what they wanted to do with this particular transition. So they've lost faith in the liberation movement that has given so much to capital at the expense of the people. Now it was a time for the people to begin to enjoy their freedom and to chart their own way forward. In the next meetings of the Alliance, we'll debate these questions.
You've also touched on a number of issues facing South Africa, especially the poor and marginalized people. And among that, you've highlighted healthcare, the national health insurance, and you've said that now is the time to implement. So you're starting a campaign, just very briefly around that campaign for the implementation of the NHI.
What we need to do is we're putting together Friends of the NHI campaign as a broad front. We're inviting other organizations to join us to ensure that we fight together on the side of government and on the side of the alliance to make sure that the NHI is implemented, because it's now government law and it's now been undermined through a series of possible litigation. Capital Solidarity Forces, for instance, this organization, right-wing organization Solidarity, had come out to oppose NHI. But we need the people to understand what NHI is about, because it's about their health. And in this regard, we think we have a better opportunity to mobilize all of society to make sure that they can campaign and defeat this rejection by NHI from capital particularly, so that the people can benefit from their own health.
Solly Mapaila, thank you so much for speaking to me. Of course, they're just wrapping up the 103rd anniversary commemorations here in Khayelitsha of the South African Communist Party. Of course, by the sound of the music and still seeing the hall full of people, the celebrations continue.
That is SABC News reporter there, Vanessa Puna, at the SACP's 103rd birthday there. She was joined by Solly Mapaila, who had some very scathing remarks towards the ANC leadership there, saying their behavior is quite questionable, as they'd never actually consulted them during the formation of the government of national unity.